Picture this, you're sealed inside a steel coffin in the scorching Tunisian desert. Early 1943. You command an American M4 Sherman or British Churchill tank. You feel safe, confident. Your Sherman is solid, fast, equipped with a respectable 75mm gun, good enough to handle the usual German panzers you've encountered. Your convoy advances through sand dunes, hunting for prey. Then reality shatters. Without warning, without seeing a single enemy on the horizon, the tank ahead of you explodes. A blinding flash, a sharp crack splitting the air, the sound of a projectile traveling faster than sound itself. The turret, weighing dozens of tons, flies into the air like a tin toy. You peer through your periscope, scanning the distant desert for the enemy's muzzle flash. The distance is insane, 2,000 meters, 2 full kilometers. For tanks of that era, accurate fire from such range was impossible. But that day, the impossible happened right before your eyes. Your friends died before they even knew they were under attack. Behind those sand hills lurked something new, something massive, box-shaped, with a terrifyingly long cannon. That day, the Allies didn't just meet a new tank. They met a trauma. They met a myth forged from 100mm of steel. Its name, Panzerkampfwagen VI, known to the world by one word that triggered pure terror, Tiger. In this video, we're dissecting this monster down to its bones. We'll trace its obsession-fueled birth, its logic-defying technical design, and what it felt like for an ordinary soldier to face the most legendary killing machine in World War II history. Steel yourself. We're climbing into the hatch. Chapter 1. The Birth of a Beast. Before we dive into the mechanics, we need to step back and understand one crucial question. Why did Germany, the nation that pioneered blitzkrieg, or lightning warfare, suddenly feel compelled to create a 57-ton monster? In the early war years, 1939 to 1940, Germany conquered Europe with speed. Their philosophy was simple: velocity beats thickness. Their main battle tanks, the Panzer III and IV, actually had relatively thin armor. Their weapons were standard, but it didn't matter. They possessed superior tactics, advanced radio communication, and maneuver speed that brought France and Poland to their knees. Germany felt invincible. They believed their technology was the world's most advanced, until June 22, 1941, when that arrogance collapsed instantly. Germany launched Operation Barbarossa, the massive invasion of the Soviet Union. Across Russia's vast grasslands, Wehrmacht forces slammed into a steel wall. They encountered Soviet tanks they never anticipated, the T-34 and KV-1. This moment became known as the T-30 for shock. Imagine the frustration of German tank crews. They'd spot a T-30 for approaching and fire, but the T-34 featured revolutionary sloped armor, angled steel that caused German shells to glance off and ricochet skyward. Field reports were devastating. German soldiers mockingly dubbed their 37mm anti-tank gun the door knocker, because that's all it could do: knock on the enemy tank's door without ever getting inside. Germany realized they'd lost the quality advantage. They needed a solution, and Adolf Hitler wanted that solution immediately. Hitler, with his obsession for super weapons, intervened directly. He didn't want a tank that merely matched the T-34. He demanded total dominance. He called for a Durchbruchwagen, a breakthrough vehicle. The specifications were insane. This tank must carry the legendary 88mm gun, and its frontal armor must be impervious to all existing enemy weapons. Two industrial giants were summoned to compete for the contract: Henschel and Porsche. Yes, Ferdinand Porsche, the automotive genius, participated. Porsche was ambitious, proposing a futuristic design, a gasoline-electric hybrid engine. But on the battlefield, innovation often loses to reality. Porsche's design proved too complex, required scarce copper, and the engines literally caught fire during uphill testing. Henschel won. Their design was more conventional but brutal. They abandoned sloped armor in favor of spacious internal layout, replacing it with pure thickness. They created a giant steel box. Thus was born the Tiger I. This tank was no longer about swift maneuvers. The war philosophy had shifted dramatically. The Tiger was designed to be a heavyweight sniper. Its mission: sit in strategic positions, withstand enemy assaults with its flat face, and eliminate targets one by one from impossible ranges. Germany didn't build it just to fight. They built it to annihilate enemy hope. Chapter 2: Anatomy of a Predator. Now let's peel back its steel skin and examine what made the Tiger I the apex predator of its time. 3 elements define this legend: its gun, its armor, and its mobility system. First and most iconic, the 88. The Tiger's main weapon was the 88mm KWK-36L 56 cannon. This weapon's origin is unique. Originally, the 88 was an anti-aircraft gun, a flat cannon designed to shoot down bombers at thousands of meters altitude. Germany modified it into a tank gun. The result was terrifying. The 88mm round traveled at supersonic speed with an extremely flat trajectory. Gravity barely affected the shell's path. You aimed, you fired, and the round struck exactly where you targeted. Combine this with legendary Zeiss optics. German lens quality provided exceptional visual clarity and precision. Tiger gunners could see rivet details on enemy tanks from 1 kilometer away. While Allied tanks were still guessing the range, the Tiger had already delivered a surgical death package. Second, let's talk about shape. Look at its silhouette. The Tiger is a box, a monolithic block. Unlike the T-34 or Panther, which used sloped armor to deflect rounds, Henschel's engineers chose the path of brute force. They relied on thickness and metallurgical quality. The Tiger's frontal armor was 100 millimeters of face-hardened steel. Its sides were 80 millimeters. This boxy design provided spacious, comfortable interior room for the crew to work. But on the battlefield, this shape sent a message of intimidation. When Sherman crews fired at a Tiger's front from safe range, their 75mm rounds simply shattered into fragments. For those crews, watching their shells bounce uselessly was a moment of absolute despair. Third, look down at the wheels and suspension. This is the Tiger's most distinctive visual feature, the Schachtellaufwerk, the overlapping road wheel system. The steel wheels overlap in an intricate pattern. This design was simultaneously genius and disaster. The genius: this system distributed the 57-ton weight evenly. The Tiger's ground pressure was actually very low, more balanced than the much lighter Sherman. This tank could glide smoothly over rough terrain. Its gun platform was incredibly stable. Even the steering system was revolutionary. Instead of pulling heavy brake levers like a tractor, the Tiger driver used a circular steering wheel like a car. A driver could turn this 57-ton giant with just 2 fingers. However, this complexity demanded a steep price. The overlapping wheel system was a logistical nightmare. Mud and snow constantly jammed between the wheels. In Russian winters, that mud froze overnight, completely locking the wheels. The tank became a steel ice sculpture. And if one inner wheel broke, mechanics had to remove 5 or 6 outer wheels first to repair it. Under enemy fire, this mechanical complexity often proved deadlier than enemy shots. Chapter 3: Baptism by Fire. So how did this laboratory monster perform when finally unleashed into the wild? The answer splits into 2 starkly contrasting stories, a comedy of errors in the east and pure horror in the south. The Tiger's debut occurred on the Eastern Front near Leningrad in August 1942, and it was a total disaster. Hitler, with characteristic impatience, forced for prototype Tigers into immediate combat. He ignored his general's warnings, deploying these 57-ton tanks into Russian forest swamps during autumn. The result was predictable. Those Tigers immediately sank into the mud. Their transmissions failed under the soft terrain. They became sitting targets for Soviet artillery. Russian forces even captured one Tiger unit nearly intact. They dismantled it, studied it, and realized what threat Germany was developing. But the story on the Western Front was vastly different. The Western world, Britain and America, first felt the Tiger's true bite in the Tunisian desert of North Africa in late 1942. Here, on hard ground with wide-open vistas, the Tiger found its natural habitat. Here, the myth of invincibility was born. Imagine the chaos that engulfed Allied expeditionary forces. They brought Churchill and Sherman tanks. They trusted their standard anti-tank guns. Then came the battle at Jebel Jaffa. British forces fired everything they had at the Tigers. 6-pounder guns barked. Shells struck German steel plate. The result, nothing. Those shells shattered like glass thrown against concrete walls. In return, the Tiger responded brutally. One by one, Churchill tanks exploded from ranges that made field commanders shake their heads in disbelief. Intelligence reports started arriving with panic tones. Enemy tank immune to standard anti-tank weapons. Frontal shots ineffective. Repeat, ineffective. In Tunisia occurred the historic incident involving Tiger number 131. A lucky shot from British forces jammed in the Tiger's turret ring, wounding the crew and forcing them to abandon the tank. With its engines still running, Tiger 131 was captured. The British brought it home for dissection. Allied engineers in Britain and America fell silent. They examined the steel quality and cannon size, then realized one terrifying fact. Every tank they were currently mass-producing was already obsolete. Even before leaving the factory, they were sending their young men into battle carrying pocket knives to fight giants wielding iron maces. Chapter 4. The Psychology of Terror. Now forget technical specifications for a moment. Let's talk about fear. For Allied tank crews in Europe, this fear had a medical name: Tiger phobia. This was a real psychological condition. The tank's reputation was so terrifying that whenever Allied forces spotted a vague box shape in the distance, radios would scream, "Tiger! Tiger!" Often it was just a Panzer IV with added plate armor, but the effect was identical. Convoys stopped, cold sweat poured, and troop morale collapsed before the first shot fired. Let's climb inside a Sherman during combat. Inside, the atmosphere is cramped hot, reeking of mixed oil, sweat, and gunpowder. As you aim at a Tiger, you pray. You press your 75mm gun trigger, and you hear the most heartbreaking sound on the battlefield, the sharp metallic ping. That's the sound of your shell bouncing off the Tiger's front plate and careening uselessly skyward. No explosion, no black smoke, just a small scratch on enemy paint. The next second is pure horror. You watch the Tiger's long 88mm barrel slowly rotate toward you. Its movement is deliberate, mechanical, inevitable. You know your own armor is thin as paper before that gun muzzle. You feel naked inside the steel box that's supposed to protect you. This situation forced the Allies to change their war doctrine into mathematics of death. Field commanders realized they couldn't win head-to-head. They needed numbers. The crude formula: it takes 5 Shermans to kill 1 Tiger. Why 5? Because 1 or 2 Shermans had to sacrifice themselves as bait. The bait's job was to draw the Tiger's attention, allow themselves to be shot at so the other 3 Shermans could circle wide and target the Tiger's thinner rear engine compartment. Imagine being crew in the bait tank. You're ordered to advance to your death so your friends get a chance to shoot the enemy's backside. The only real hope for the British was the Sherman Firefly, a Sherman modified with an extremely long 17-pounder gun. This was the only Allied weapon capable of penetrating Tiger frontal armor at reasonable range. But the Germans knew this. Tiger commanders were specially trained to recognize the Firefly's long barrel. Once battle began, orders were clear: ignore regular Shermans. Find the long barrel. Kill the Firefly first. So even when you had an effective weapon, it made you target number 1. Fighting the Tiger wasn't about courage for the Allies. It was about accepting you were an insect trying to sting an elephant, hoping the elephant died before it crushed you. Chapter 5. Legendary Battles. The Tiger myth wasn't built on empty rumors. It was carved upon 2 of history's greatest tank slaughterhouses, the grasslands of Kursk in Russia and the narrow lanes of Villers-Bocage in France. Let's start in the east. Summer 1943, the Battle of Kursk. This was the ultimate test. Hitler gambled everything on Operation Citadel. Hundreds of Tigers were assembled as the spearhead. They were unleashed on the wide, flat steppe grasslands. For Tiger commanders, this was paradise. Unlimited sight lines, no hiding places for the enemy. Here, the Tiger demonstrated absolute dominance over the T-34. Battle reports recorded surreal scenes. Tigers destroyed Soviet tanks from 2 kilometers range. Meanwhile, T-34s had to crawl forward under shell rain, trying to close distance. Many T-34s exploded before their crews could even see where shots originated. The kill ratio was insane. In some sectors, one Tiger battalion could slaughter dozens, even hundreds, of Soviet tanks with minimal losses on their side. Tactically, the Tiger was king. But Kursk also revealed the fatal flaw in German philosophy. They won in quality but lost in breadth. Thousands of Soviet landmines crippled Tiger wheels. And for every T-34 destroyed, Soviet factories in the Urals sent to replacements. That red steel wave kept coming, drowning the elite panzer units. 1 year later on the Western Front, the Tiger legend reached its most dramatic peak. June 13, 1944, Villers-Bocage, Normandy. This was the moment when one man and one machine stopped an entire division. That man's name, Michael Wittmann, a Waffen-SS tank ace. That morning, he spotted the British 7th Armored Division convoy moving casually along a village road. They were relaxed, stopped to brew tea. Wittmann decided to attack alone. What happened next defines mechanical slaughter. Wittmann drove his Tiger out from the forest. He shot the frontmost tank to block the road, then shot the rearmost tank to cut off escape. The British convoy was trapped. Wittmann then worked down the convoy like a wolf in a sheep pen. He fired on Cromwell tanks, Shermans, and armored personnel carriers from point-blank range. In under 15 minutes, Wittmann destroyed 14 tanks, 15 personnel carriers, and 2 anti-tank guns. Alone. The British were shocked. Their advance toward Caen halted completely because of one tank. The Villers-Bocage incident became eternal proof. In the hands of expert crew and proper terrain, the Tiger wasn't just a combat vehicle. It was a death god capable of reversing local battle fate in an eye blink. Chapter 6: The Achilles Heel. But like all monsters in mythology, the Tiger had its Achilles heel. Ultimately, it wasn't enemy guns that killed this species. The Tiger died from its own weight and brutal war reality. The Tiger's greatest enemy wasn't the Sherman or T-34. Its greatest enemy was logistics. The Maybach V12 engine powering this giant was powerful but thirsty. Extremely thirsty. The Tiger consumed hundreds of liters of fuel just to travel short distances. Toward war's end, when Allied bombing obliterated German oil supply lines, the Tiger transformed from predator to steel statue. Many heartbreaking historical photos from 1945 show rows of Tigers abandoned roadside by their crews. Condition intact, guns functional, armor unscratched but fuel tanks empty. Without gasoline, the world's strongest tank was just a useless bunker worth thousands of Reichsmarks. Beyond this, there was over-engineering. Germany's tendency to perfect everything became a boomerang. Remember that complex overlapping wheel system? The sophisticated transmission? On paper, genius. In Eastern Front mud or European city rubble, disaster. Tigers broke down too frequently, and when they did, they required special recovery vehicles. Usually 2 or 3 tow vehicles were needed to move one. Often, retreating German forces had to dynamite their own Tigers to prevent capture, not because they lost duels, but because of broken bolts. They died stupidly. The final factor, industrial mathematics. This is the natural law of modern warfare. Quantity has a quality all its own. Total Tiger Eye production during the war, approximately 1,347 units. A pathetic number. Compare this to America's production of nearly 50,000 Shermans or the Soviets' production of over 80,000 T-34s. No matter how skilled Michael Wittmann was or how thick Tiger armor stood, they drowned in the Allied steel tsunami. For every Tiger destroyed, the Allies could send 10 new tanks the next day. Germany couldn't. Every lost Tiger was an irreplaceable national tragedy. Germany tried to improve the situation by birthing its successor, the King Tiger. Bigger, thicker, longer cannon. But the King Tiger only worsened all of Tiger Eye's problems. It was slower, more fuel-hungry, and European bridges collapsed when it crossed them. The giant finally fell not from sword thrusts, but from exhaustion and starvation. So what's the final verdict on this steel saga? The Tiger Eye is a paradox. On one hand, it's an engineering masterpiece. It's the physical manifestation of German engineering excellence. It set new standards for how lethal a tank could be. It forced the Allies to completely rethink their war strategy. It transformed fear into a real psychological weapon. Even today, 80 years later, the word tiger retains a mystical aura. At the Bovington Tank Museum in England, thousands queue annually just to watch Tiger 131's engine roar to life. It remains World War II's most enduring icon. But on the other hand, the Tiger is a monument to strategic error. It was too expensive, too complex. It consumed resources that should have built more reliable Panzer IVs or Stugs. Germany tried to win a war of attrition with an exclusive boutique weapon. That gamble failed. History records the Tiger as legend, but legends don't win wars. Logistics and production numbers do. Ultimately, the Tiger I teaches us one vital lesson. Superior technology is frightening, but simplicity and reliability keep armies moving forward. Now I want to hear from you. Position yourself as a Sherman tank commander in Normandy, 1944. You spot a Tiger at the end of the road. What would you do? Call in an air strike, attempt a high-risk flanking maneuver, or retreat and wait for reinforcements? Write your battle strategy in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this military history deep dive, make sure you hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We'll return next week to dissect another legendary war machine. See you on the next battlefield.